I'm comedian, writer, and filmmaker Chuck Staton from the punk band Senior Discount.
And I'm writer and comedian Brad Rohr from the Providence Improv Guild.
And this is the Chuck and Brad Podcast.
Hello and welcome to episode 462 of the Chuck and Brad Podcast.
I'm Chuck.
I'm Brad.
How you doing, Brad?
I'm great.
And you know what? We have a special guest today. We're going to talk about why he's here and what the future of the podcast is going to be. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Mr. Ray Harrington.
Hi.
How you doing, bud?
I'm great.
Yeah, are you?
I'm so great.
Yeah.
Everything's good and right.
Yeah, Ray is shoved in the corner of his office right now, clinging to any way to entertain the masses.
No.
No?
No. I'm doing this for myself.
Okay. All right.
Not for anyone else.
Good.
I have no interest in entertaining the masses.
All right.
I'm already there. Let's do this.
Yes.
So I want to talk about what we're doing today because this is the first time we've really done anything like this, right?
That's correct.
So today, as you may have noticed, we are doing a video podcast. We're doing the Chuck and Brad podcast, on video for the first time because, we thought that during this time, it might be cool to put a little extra effort in. It might be cool to add this new dimension and maybe get the podcast out to more people, right?
That's the goal.
Yeah. We talked to our buddy Jim Nellis, founder and owner of RI Food Fights, and he said, hey, what do you guys think about doing the podcast and doing some video stuff, throwing it up on the RI Food Fights Facebook and Instagram? And Brad and I had to talk about it. We talked to our buddy Ray, and we said, let's do it. Let's start some stuff and see how it goes. So starting this week, we're doing a video podcast for our new episode, which is today.
Right.
Ray is here, which we're going to talk about.
Which is great. Yeah.
And then as well, every Monday now, the new episodes come out on Thursday. Every Monday, we're going to be doing what we're going to call an archive episode. And we're going to take an episode that we've already released, like an interview with somebody, and re-release it and maybe get it out to more people through the RI Food Fight social media. So next week, the first archive episode is going to be our interview with Jim Nellis of RI Food Fights.
And how we started our friendship with him at the time.
Yeah, and that did kick off our relationship and a lot of fun events. So next Monday, look for that first archive episode. And now on Thursdays, check out our video podcast. And Ray Harrington, let's put the cards on the table, Ray. I said, Ray, we're going to do this thing. You're a great guy. You have a fun rapport with us. You've been on our podcast 1,000 times. Would you like to come on the podcast and just be a staple of the podcast? And what did you say, Ray?
I said I would think about that. And
It's a rational
I'm still
response.
thinking. I'm still thinking about
He's
it.
still thinking about it. He said,
So if at any point my screen goes black, I have made my decision.
I was going to say, can I think about it live on the podcast?
If it's just like everything's going fine and then all of a sudden just, he's gone. Then
He's made a decision. Goodbye, Ray.
Yeah.
The cons have outweighed the pros at this point, and he is out of here.
Yeah, so we're doing this for fun and to see if people like it, to see if people respond. Ray is welcome to stick around for as long as he wants. We love having Ray on the podcast, and we're gonna have fun. We're gonna take this new little turn and see what people think, and I think it's gonna be a really good time. And I want to give a big shout out to our buddy Adam Nishma because he's gonna be helping us out and doing some editing for us for the video version.
Very much appreciated.
Oh, very much appreciated. Big help for us. But besides that, we're going to keep the regular podcast, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Ray, do you have anything you're bringing to the podcast today?
Just me.
Just you.
That's all we need.
Wow, that sounds like a question you could have asked before we started, right? You could have been like, "Oh, is there something you wanted to do or anything like that?" Instead of just like right off the bat, "Hey, Ray, did you bring stuff?"
Ray, I wish you could have seen his Grinch-like grin as he started asking that question because he knew where it was going.
Well, who knows? You don't know if Ray's gonna hit us upside the head with some new thing, you know?
Yeah, if I have that, I'll bring it to something that's mine.
Wow. Well, all you got is us for now, Ray. All right,
That's fine.
So I do.
And listen, I do appreciate it, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, and this podcast, as me and Brad have always said. You know what? Actually, we're going to say it today for the first time.
Okay. We've always said it privately.
We've always felt it, but I never found the words.
We've always thought it, but we've never said the words out loud in case they heard.
I never found the words until just now. Our podcast is a creative playground. That's pretty good.
I gotta go.
That's pretty good.
I gotta
go. Ray has made up his mind.
I made up my mind.
Yeah.
No, it's anything goes. You know what I mean? We do this every week, and so we're happy to play with the format and do different things. So whatever you want to bring to the table, you bring to the table, Ray. You're part of the group. You're
all
like,
right.
Let's see.
Oh boy,
Oh God, this is not going to be good. Whatever you're about to say will be an insult.
I'm like Tony Soprano.
Okay.
Oh God, here we go again.
Keep going.
Brad is like Carmela. I think.
I haven't watched the show, but okay.
And Ray, you're like a big pussy.
Yep, there we go.
Wait, I'm sorry.
So
is it Is that his nickname?
No. There's not a qualifier. There's not a or a. It's just big pussy.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. In terms of the metaphor.
I just want to be clear here. Brad, hear me out on this, because I think you've probably dealt with the same situation. Chuck started watching The Sopranos for the first time during this quarantine.
That's correct.
And every single conversation I have had with him since then, anytime he reaches for an analogy or a metaphor or a simile, he will pull Sopranos every single time.
That's true.
It is like he's a man who woke up from a medically induced coma and only knows one current thing, and he's like, "Oh, you know what that's like? That's like Sopranos." It's like like no matter what you're talking about, like, "Oh, I tried to pay a bill online and it was ridiculous, like the paywall thing. I couldn't get in, I couldn't sign in," and Chuck would be like, "Oh man, you know what that's like? That reminds me of like the Sopranos. You know how." No way. You know how Tony Soprano is always just like he's talking to his therapist, and it's like, oh man, just watch something else. Get another analogy.
No way. Ray will be like, yeah, he's like, yeah, you know, today he's like, I went to the strip club that I own,
and I beat a man with a telephone.
I was talking to Gina. I was like, we were watching Sopranos, and I was like, man, imagine if I owned a strip club. I'm like, I wonder if I could buy the Foxy Lady. The Chucksy Lady. She hated it all.
Chuck, do you often immediately leap to what you would do as that character, like that often?
I think so, right?
Like seeing Tony Soprano owning a strip club, and you said out loud, "Man, imagine if I owned a strip club." Do you do that with everything you watch? Like if you're watching Armageddon, are you like, "Man, what if I was an oil driller that had to save the planet?"
When I watched it, I was like, I don't know if I'm qualified to be in space. There might be better people that should be up here, but I'll drill this meteor if that's what we have to do.
I like the idea of you looking over at Gina going, "Man, what if Ben Affleck was rolling a Hot Wheels car over my abdomen?"
That was a really good pull. That was great. You don't do that?
I panicked halfway through whether or not I could remember all the details.
I thought it was an animal cracker. Was there also an animal cracker on her stomach?
Oh no, it was an animal cracker. I was wrong.
Oh, Armageddon 2. Okay.
Armageddon 2, everything kind of progresses a little bit, so you get a Hot Wheels car in Armageddon 2.
Right.
Yeah, this time it's personal.
Right. Yeah, I think so. I mean, isn't that what I think that's what movies are, for me anyway. I think that every time I see a movie, I think of myself. I'm like, oh, Luke Skywalker wants to become the best Jedi. I want to be, you know.
What if I wanted to fuck my sister?
I think of it more like everything's a metaphor, although I do take it pretty literally. Because I have been thinking about Tony Soprano.
You can't take a metaphor literally. Then it's not a metaphor.
I'm like,
Then it's just a statement.
I was thinking about it though, but I was like, Tony Soprano gets so much respect, but he's way meaner to people than I usually am. So I'm trying to see if I should be meaner and more people will respect me.
No, oh boy, if that's your takeaway.
Well, I think so.
If that's your takeaway of like, boy, if I want to get the respect that Tony Soprano gets, I just need to be mean like Tony Soprano.
I think if you were scared
let alone
of me,
the fact that he's a mob boss. He's a fucking mob boss.
That's true, I guess. I mean, I don't you think of Sopranos? I mean, I don't know, whatever. I think of everything as kind of a metaphor at first. You know, like Luke Skywalker wants to achieve something, so that's me. I want to achieve something. But then I guess I do say, well, this is how he deals with other people. Should I deal like that?
But that's not a metaphor. If you identify yourself as that person, that's not a metaphor.
Yeah, you're right. That's true.
You're just
that's
putting
difficult.
yourself in that role.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right, you're right.
It's something that people that are like, how do I put this as safely as possible?
Yes.
It's something that a lot of my mom works with special needs people, and that is something that happens a lot with her clients, where they put themselves into the main character of a TV show or a movie.
Really?
So you make of that what you will.
Is that true?
Yeah.
I think the Sopranos metaphor is off. I think I'm like Willie, Chuck is like Mrs. Achmonic, and Ray is like Alf.
That's a weird joke.
Yes, it is.
That's a really weird joke.
That's a weird
really
pull.
went back in that one.
Yeah. But yeah, I am watching Sopranos and having a lot of fun. That's what I'm taking away from that. Ray wanted to hear more about
thanks
my
for
watch.
having me.
Guess what I'm watching?
What?
Here's a hint. He eats cats.
Garfield? So yeah, actually, you know what? This is kind of a good segue into one of the first things I thought about. I thought it'd be fun to do a topic at kind of like the top of every episode called Quarantini Victories, where we take a positive spin on the quarantine and say, what are small things that I've achieved that I wouldn't normally achieve if we didn't have the quarantine, and try to put a good spin on it.
Chuck, is your first one coming up with that pun?
No, my first one, I have a weird one. You want to hear what it is?
Oh boy. All right. Yeah.
I switched and I'm full on oat milk now. Here's the weirdest part though. You ready for this?
No. Don't say anything else, because in my mind, what just happened is you proclaimed, like you jumped out of an alleyway and said, "I'm all oat milk now."
You're like, hey, Gina, I noticed Tony Soprano doesn't drink traditional dairy. What's he drinking?
I'm all oat milk now, baby.
Well, here's my.
That's how you could be threatening. I'm all oat milk now.
Well, here's my question though. That I realized after I switched, I went full oat milk, and I was all excited about it.
Stop saying full oat milk.
Full oat milk. Oh no, he's gone full oat milk.
Here's what I realized.
He's gone
though.
full something.
Here's what I realized. I was like, is this good? Like, I don't even know the difference. Just everyone's doing this thing, but they don't want the milk. They want the other milk. And so I'm trying to switch to a different milk. I don't even know if it's like healthier. Is it?
Oh man, you know what that reminds me of? You know what that's exactly like?
What?
When Tony Soprano thinks about getting out of the life.
Yeah.
When he thinks about getting out of the life, you know, he thinks that that's going to be so good, and then he's like,
Yeah.
but is it? You know, is the grass greener? Is the
Right.
oat milk creamier? You know?
That is a good metaphor. And to
And it's
take
like
it
Tony
literally-
Soprano always says, you never go full oat milk.
Yes. But what is it healthier? What am I supposed to do?
I think,
mean, yeah.
yeah, maybe.
I don't know if it is. I don't know. I asked Gina, and she was like, she's like, I don't know if it's healthier, but if you have any sort of dairy thing, you're eliminating that, right?
Right. And also,
Yeah.
if you look at the resources that go into producing 1 gallon of traditional dairy cow milk
Oh, okay.
versus the resources that go into 1 gallon of soy milk versus
Right.
the resources that go into 1 gallon of oat milk,
Right.
does that make a difference? And if you were like, oh, Brad, you should like know those figures. First of all, why would I know those figures? And secondly, I don't know those figures.
It's more expensive. It's definitely more expensive.
Yes.
I don't know.
Well, another issue as far as resources, like Brad was saying, like I know almond milk, the resources that go into almonds, growing almonds,
Right.
it's like a huge amount of water. It's like something crazy. I don't even want to throw a number out because I'm not 100% sure. I want to say a gallon of water for every almond, but I think that might be wrong.
Wow.
So if you think of that and then almond milk, there's a lot of water waste happening to give
see.
you a gallon of almond milk. So I don't know what the oat lobby has to say about this,
Right.
and I think we would have to ask Big Oat what the deal is.
Who's Quaker Oat? Who's the guy on the Quaker Oat?
Is it William Penn?
No, his name's William Penn. That's a terrible oat name. The guy, you know what I'm talking about.
Sean Penn. It's Sean Penn.
I always mix those two.
You know what I'm talking about on Quaker Oat?
Yes, William Penn, the Quaker.
There's no way his name is William Penn. That's the most boring. We have to be like,
he's a Quaker. He's not supposed to be exciting.
It's supposed to be like, it's gotta be like Odie.
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 Like Garfield's.
Now we're back to Garfield.
Like if his name was like Odie, the Odie Pilgrim or Pilgrim Odie or something with Odie.
He's a Quaker. That's why they're Quaker Oats.
Hold on. His name's not William Penn.
He founded Pennsylvania.
What? Hold on. Come on. I'm looking
He planted oats there. I don't know if it's William Penn. I know that William Penn was a Quaker. You're gonna look it up and you're gonna tell me that his name was Odie Oderson.
I want to know.
From Oat Town, Oatsylvania.
I'm not telling you his name. I don't want to talk about this. I found it out. William Penn is a terrible name for that guy. It has nothing to do with oats or anything like that. And also, this guy founded Pennsylvania.
Yes.
And so now he's on the cover of an oatmeal can.
He's a famous Quaker.
That's the stupidest thing I ever heard in my life.
Did you just say the cover of an oatmeal can?
Yeah.
He's on the cover like it's Sports Illustrated. Like he's on the hey, I made. Well, as far as Quakers go, I suppose being on a box of some grain is is the equivalent of being on a Wheaties box, right? Oh, that's a grain too. Shit.
That's funny. I can't believe it's the founder of Pennsylvania. I wish he had a cool name. William Penn. That sucks.
You don't think that's cool? Chuck
Not really.
Staton?
No. I don't think it's cool. All right. That's anyway. So that's my quarantini victory. Do you have a teeny victory?
Honestly, I have been. I work at a college. I work in the housing office, and we've been taking care of bill adjustments and room selection and everything like that. And I have not really. I've been isolated, but I haven't felt quarantined. Even though I'm working from home, I'm not leaving. It's like, oh, okay, my house is cleaner and more sanitized than it normally is, but that feels like a weird thing to celebrate, even if it is a quarantini victory.
Yeah, I think it is. Do you have? It's fun to wrap it around a specific task. Like I finally organized this closet.
No, and that stuff is already like on my docket of like, oh, I need to go through this drawer. I want to take half an hour a day to improve my living space in some way. I went through my books and set aside some for donation for when the libraries are open again. Great. But it's weird because I've done that before, 9 months ago. So
I see.
I don't know that I have any quarantini victories this week, but here's to getting 2 for next week.
All right. Ray, you got any quarantini victories?
Yeah. Every day that I get through is a victory.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And I'm saying that not even like there's no cynicism in me saying that. I mean it quite genuinely. I'm a comedian and a filmmaker, so I'm out of work.
Yes,
and my wife is working from home, and she is working her ass off because she works for the Rhode Island Commerce Corporation, and they are nothing but like helping small businesses. That's their entire reason for being.
Yeah,
and so she's basically like a crisis hotline right now, and then we have a 6-year-old as well, and so we're his school at the same time, and we're managing to get through this by like labeling our emotions at a time when they need to be, and understanding that you're okay to feel however you're going to feel.
Right. True.
And trying to make jokes as much as possible, really every day you get through is fine. You know what I mean? Like that's a teeny victory. Beyond that, I don't know. I mean, I've cleaned up a little bit here and there, kind of taken on some tasks.
Yeah.
But beyond that,
we're working on some stuff behind the scenes. That's a little victory, right?
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. That's a fun thing. I mean, we can talk about that down the road.
Absolutely.
But ultimately, I guess my biggest victory would be me now saying to you, get off my back.
Okay. Finally speaking up.
If people want to be super productive, that's great. I think there's a little bit of sociopathy in there. And if they can't and are struggling, that's okay too. and that's a big takeaway. So now I guess my third quarantini victory would now be being somebody brave enough to say that to however many people see this. So you're welcome, and thank you.
Do you think it's smart for our Pauly Walnuts equivalent to speak up to Tony Soprano like that? Because doesn't sound like a victory.
If you're gonna keep bringing it back to Tony Soprano, buddy, I don't know what to tell you. I just don't know what to tell you.
I didn't know it was pronounced sociopathy until Ray said it just now. I'd only read the word before.
What do you think it was pronounced?
I don't know, sociopathy, but that doesn't make any sense.
Sociopathy.
So, sociopathy.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Well, I mean, I think sociopathy.
Right, doesn't make any sense.
It seems, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Let's get into the weeds on this.
Oh,
yeah. And by the way, I feel bad. We kind of did that big intro. We didn't really explain Ray that well. I said Ray's been on the podcast 1,000 times. Ray is a stand-up comedian, and he's an international comedian, as he likes to be referred to.
Demands to be referred to.
He did Conan last month.
Yes.
He has Be a Man, his documentary is on Hulu, and we worked together on a great project that I love called Undependent, which was a 2-episode pilot for a TV series. And he's a friend of ours. We do a lot of live shows together where we do the Chuck and Brad branded live shows, and he's a good guy that's on our podcast a lot. I just want to make sure that we filled anybody in who's seeing this for the first time.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah,
and
of course.
just put that part 20 minutes earlier.
All right, so we do have an email this week we got to get to.
Let's hear it.
You're not going to read the one I sent you, are you?
So this is from Jason Vinay, who last week we did a live stream and called.
Hey, that's not cool. That's not cool, man. You're really making a Jason Benet joke? That's terrible. That little girl that died.
It's her older brother. He's trying
Jason Benet. Jason Benet. Oh no! Now this is an email of like an admittal of guilt.
He was part of our live stream like last week when we did a live stream before the podcast. He sent in a question or two, and we were reading the questions off. And Brad, we didn't know how to say his name, and so I said Jason Vinay, and you said Jason Vanet.
Yes.
And here's what his email says this week. He says, "Hey guys, awesome fan-fueled episode this week," referring to last week with our live stream. "I've heard every possible pronunciation of my last name. Haha. Vinay is correct. Crazy French with its silent letters. Brad, are you a fan of the Gaslight Anthem? If so, which is your favorite album? They're on my list of best bands ever."
Wow. I do enjoy the Gaslight Anthem. Mm-hmm. I got into the song 45. Mm-hmm. It's Turn the Record Over, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite rock singles. And so I think that's on the album Handwritten. Mm-hmm. And then they have an album called The 59 Sound.
Yes.
That the eponymous single. Mm-hmm. If Ray can use big words, I can use big words.
Yes.
The 59 Sound is another, just a great song.
Yeah.
And they're one of my favorite more modern rock bands. It's just their lead singer Brian Fallon has a new folk album out.
Right.
And so the Gaslight Anthem hasn't recorded as much in recent years, but I definitely enjoy their work.
Yeah. That's one of the bands that's on my list of like bands to get into because I heard the 59 Sound kind of in the background on a car ride, and I was like, oh, this is really good.
Yeah.
He goes on to say, "You guys talked a bit about the mindset of avoiding massively popular things, and I really identify with that. Most of my life, I fell into that and still catch myself from time to time. I'm not sure if it's a subconscious punk rock / counterculture tendency or what. Maybe it comes from the idea that a lot of the world is perceived as stupid and a desire to separate from that. Who knows? I just know that I've missed out on a lot of genuinely awesome things over the years because of it. Logically, if something becomes a mass hit, there's probably something good about it. Turns out Friends, Call of Duty, early Fall Out Boy, and Taylor Swift are pretty damn great. Most recently, Tiger King has proven so as well. Fun fact about Tiger King, the GW Zoo is less than an hour from my house, and Joe Exotic has been a household name for years between his zoo antics and publicity stunts. Also, James Garrett's sons, the jet ski dude.
Yep.
Weird Warehouse was a nearby discount store we used to go to. It was called Tiger Liquidation, and we didn't think anything of it because the local school teams are the Tigers. Nice cover, haha. Looking forward to more live streams. Stay safe, guys. Jay Vinay. That's great. Thank you, man. Thank you for writing in. Yeah, that's something we talked about in the podcast quite a bit, is the idea of kind of getting turned off to popular things just because they're popular.
Right.
It's weird, too, because sometimes I think that things are so popular that they feel like they're forced down your throat. Because, Ray, you just got into Friends this year for the first time, right?
Yeah, was it this year? Yeah, it was this year. I got really sick and just like a bad like flu or cold or something.
Right.
And I was kind of held captive in my house because of it, and I needed something to just put on and like keep me company and not need to pay attention to it. And growing up, Friends was so ubiquitous. It was all over the place. Sorry, Brad, for using another.
No, it's all right. I feel great.
Polysyllabic word. There's another one.
Yep.
I wanted to see what the show was and see, a couple of things. One, as an adult, was it funnier because I was now an adult,
Sure.
right?
Yep.
And versus a child when I was seeing it before.
Yep.
Secondly, does it hold up? And thirdly, just to kind of like goof at how unbelievably 90s it all looked.
Yeah.
And and then also just as somebody who has written comedy, and you and I, Chuck, we did the pilot of Undependent. And when I was writing that, there's beats, there's things to keep in mind, and I wanted to watch it kind of academically, and I really enjoyed it, and I thought it was a lot of fun. And that was cool. I think people do that with a lot of other shows. Like there's people finding The Office for the first time, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I do think, in listening to the question in the email, I think part of why, popularity of something versus how much you either get into it or not, I don't know. Avoiding something for the first time, maybe that's a different thing. But I know there's moments where something that I have found that isn't popular yet, that isn't really well known, that I love, is something really special to me. And part of the reason it's special is because
it feels like
not
a secret.
A lot of people know about it. Yeah. And
I know.
A lot of those things for me are things that people kind of poked fun at before. Like I'm a huge fan of UK comedy stuff.
Yeah.
And I have been since I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like The Mighty Boosh, that was something that no one knew about. And like in the early 2000s, as soon as the show was coming out, I was watching it, and I was getting it from the UK to watch the show because there were people in it that I already liked from other things.
Right.
So I found that on this path, and I was like, oh, this is great, this is awesome, and I love it, and it's really fun. And I remember being like a freshman in college and being like, oh, I really love this show, whatever it was, and then somebody being like, oh, do they have British accents? Because it was just they knew that I liked British stuff,
right?
And then all of a sudden, like 2 or 3 years later, everybody's like, oh, I'm old Greg. And it's like, oh, okay. Now it's popular, just like one little part of it. You know what I mean? I remember watching The Office, the original UK Office on DVD, back when DVDs were the thing, and loving that show and being like, this is incredible, and getting shit for that too. And then lo and behold, it becomes an American remake, which it became a different show, which is awesome. And I love that show as well.
Right.
But there was a little bit of a feeling for me when it started to explode, where I was like, man, I liked this for real, like at the beginning. You know what I mean? Like when people were like, oh, you watched that? And I'm like, yeah, it's great. So I do think there is a sense, and I think that happens with bands and comic books, movies, TV shows. There's all these different things, and part of it is because you found this thing that not everybody knew, and then when it blows up, a little bit of that magic is gone. So I totally get it.
Yeah, I think so too. That's an interesting part of it, especially for me coming from the world of like not only music but punk rock. Like a lot of the bands that I liked. I got Green Day's Dookie in 1994, and think about what they turned into over the years versus when those first couple albums came out. And there was violent response to that. Like their tires got slashed at shows and stuff like that. And another band, Against Me, which is a band that I started liking in 2005, they got bigger and bigger, signed to a major, and a lot of blowback from that. And obviously that kind of stuff is weird when people are mad about it, but it does feel less personal, I guess, right? That's kind of the thing.
Yeah, I think all kinds of media things, from print to, in your ear or through your eyes, all of those things, when it is more of a rarity, it just feels more like a special connection to that thing.
Yeah.
And when it does become a massive thing, it's hard to connect with that. And I do think there's a weird thing. It happens in sports too. I mean, I'm not a sports person, but the idea of like fair weather fans and stuff like that. In New England, it became a phrase of what the pink hats or something like that.
Yes, right. That's right. The pink hats.
Where it's like diehard fans that follow the team no matter what feel like other people being excited about that after a win, it's like you're not allowed to like them.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's for sure that happens.
Yeah.
You know, then there's the other turn where it's like you love something when it's small, and then when it does blow up, it changes.
Right.
The thing
That's true.
itself changes.
That's true.
And you
That
go,
can happen.
ooh,
Yeah,
nope.
Right.
I joked about it with you, Chuck. I told you that the first two albums, I'm going to say this out loud on a public forum, on camera, I'm saying these words.
Okay.
Oh boy. All right, here we go. The first two Sugar Ray albums were pretty good.
Cash. I need some fucking cash. Right? That song?
Yeah, that's a great song.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah, there was some good stuff there. And when I was in high school, those two first albums were like, oh, this is the best.
Yeah.
Lemonade and Brownies and Floored were like, oh, this is awesome.
I know.
And then Floored had that one hit.
I do love that song. I think that's a great summer song, Fly.
Sure. Yeah. And then after that, everything became that. And so I went from somebody that was like, oh yeah, I listened, like I went through that phase of like Offspring and Sugar Ray and stuff like that. And then the next couple of albums came out and it was like, yeah, all right.
It's
then
fun-
flash forward to, oh my God, what's it? Mark McGrath? Is that
he's
his
on
name?
Entertainment Tonight or whatever.
Yeah, he's on Entertainment Tonight or some shit. He's on some, whatever it is. Extra. I think it's Extra.
Extra, yeah.
Yeah. Extra. And and it's just like, oh boy, yeah, this is where we are, you know? But that happens with everything though. That really does happen with everything.
Let me say one quick thing about Sugar Ray.
I also have a Sugar Ray anecdote.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So I was going to say, it's funny because I basically, like I said, in punk rock, it's almost like it's every band that got big in this world. And I'm talking about not just Green Day and Blink-182, and I'm talking about even like NoFX and like the bands that general people think of as smaller bands, but the punk rock scene thinks of as bigger. There's so much backlash and sellout stuff, people saying sellout. And I honestly, I've always said for years now, I'm like, I don't believe that any band has actually sold out except for Sugar Ray, because it's just such a black and white difference of what they were. And here's the thing, I don't really fault them for it, because like Fly, that was one thing and it was very groovy and very summery, but the songs after that were like 10 times as soft as Fly. They went from being kind of a fast, thrashy punk band to being like a soft acoustic rock dentist band. You know what I mean? And it was a clear change, and it was about success. And I don't even fault them for that. I think the term sellout pretty much does apply. I'm not, like I said, I'm not really judging. And I think that some of those songs are fine as like the alternative 90s hits in the background on the radio. But yeah, it's crazy. It's great. I completely agree with you about Sugar Ray. That's one band that's like, I do feel like it's true. You know, that's funny. What were you going to say, Brad?
Sugar Ray was technically the first band I ever saw in concert.
Wow, what year?
1995, and it was before Fly came out. So Mean Machine was the only song I knew.
Right.
Mean Machine, yeah.
Yeah, and this was like the first concert I had ever been to. It was at Deer Creek, just outside of Indianapolis. And they were the first band on. And so, you know, we saw them. We saw Ned's Atomic Dustbin, Bush and Sponge and Weezer headlined. We saw, you know, the Toadies were on the second stage.
Yeah.
And then they were like, oh, well, Sugar Ray will be signing autographs. So I waited in line for like 45 minutes. And then I got to the front and the line had kind of morphed into two lines. And they're like, no, you got to go to the back of the line. And I'm like, but I've been here for 40 minutes. Like, nope, you're not in line. I'm like, I am in line. Like, I've been in line. They're like, nope.
Wow.
And so I went back to my seat, and then I'm like, I still want their autographs. So I went and got back in line and waited, and they signed like an album-sized cover of Lemonade and Brownies. All four of the guys signed it.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Do you still have it?
I have it somewhere. It's probably at my parents' house.
That's cool. I like that. Yeah, it's a
Brad,
fun
you went to like 1995 the concert. From everybody you listed,
Yeah.
it's like it's like Casey Kasem walks out and he's like, this is 1995. and then all the bands come out.
Like no one can save us from Kim the waitress. Yes, that's
yeah.
Well, what's
Sean Bonet walks by waving out at everybody.
and Brad's like, oh yeah, I gotta kill her.
I'll say a couple years ago, Chuck was playing an acoustic show with Chris Rowe from the Ataris, and I was making small talk with Mr. Rowe before the show.
Yeah.
And I said something about that being my first concert, and he's like, "Oh yeah, 1995." Like, and he's like, "Yeah, I was at that show."
Oh, he was just there. He wasn't
performing. He was in the crowd at the show.
Yeah, that's
and I'm
right.
like, we might have thrown nachos at you during Plowed by Sponge.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I love that.
I do want to throw out a final little thing here, a little
Yes.
postscript to this. That was high school. My music taste has changed, right? Like I've evolved.
Oh, please.
And I just wanted to throw that out.
Oh,
there.
get
Now
outta
I'm
here.
really into Melissa Etheridge now. I want that known.
Come to My Window is a great song.
I won't get into it, but I have strong feelings.
You won't get into my window?
I have strong.
I will come to your window, but I'm going to stop outside.
I have strong feelings about trying.
Come on, and then we're gonna move in a fast car.
I have strong feelings about trying to hold on to the things that you've always liked, and it's weird because I feel like sometimes you don't
And that's
have
why
time.
Gina needs a restraining order.
Sometimes
That was a great joke.
That was a very good joke. You don't have time to experience them all the same. But I try to search for the things I liked and hold on to them because
Oh yeah, I don't dislike it. It still has a soft spot in my heart. It's still
Yeah.
on my phone. Those two albums are on my phone.
yeah, you're just not
know?
looking for new bands that sound like that.
Yeah, it's just like time has changed and I enjoy other things. Like I went to college and then things kind of changed musically because that's what happens to a human being, as they grow up.
Sure.
I think it would be weird if we all just stuck with the music that we found when we were in high school and we were like, nope, this is it. This is what we do now.
I see. I don't think it's weird. I think if you stuck with it, it'd be weird. But I think that turning your back on it is a little bit weird. I'm not saying that you are, but I think that some people do.
Sure, yeah.
Like I think that Limp Bizkit had a time and a place, and they were important for that time and place. Do you remember that? The Gorilla concerts they did that summer? Do you remember that?
No, I don't remember Gorilla concerts, but I mean, I remember
They
Limp
went on
Bizkit
tour.
being big. Yeah.
They were big, and they went on tour, and instead of doing shows, they brought a sound system, and they would just set up in a city and start playing one day, and the radio stations would just announce it, and people would flock, and they would get shut down in every city, and that's how they filmed the Nookie video.
Ah, okay.
That's pretty
and then,
cool.
And they still do that, but nobody shows up, right?
You know what's sad? This made me so sad. Like one of my favorite bands is Blink-182. I think that a lot of people don't give them the respect they deserve. They did a lot of artsy stuff later on. Obviously, they were nominated for a Grammy like 3 years ago for the first time. They did like a return tour in like 2009. After they'd been broken up for like 5 years. Limp Bizkit did a return tour at the same time, and it sold so poorly that they canceled the tour. Isn't that sad?
That is very sad.
Blink-182
That's a bit of a bummer, yeah.
Isn't it?
You know why though? You know why? Because the core fans of Limp Bizkit that would have still been super into Limp Bizkit,
They're dead.
were either dead or in jail. That's it.
I know. Well, it's
Right?
it's funny because
Give
like,
me something to break. That guy's not going to be 42.
that guy's not tastefully growing with Limp Bizkit.
Right. The people that wanted to go, they'd be like, man, as soon as I get this ankle monitor off, I'm going to one of those shows.
Well, it's funny because music comes in waves in terms of what genres are popular, and I look at Limp Bizkit the same way.
I heard it also comes in color.
I think that I look at Limp Bizkit the way I look at like Poison. I mean, it was a specific type of music that was popular at a specific time, but I think Limp Bizkit's thing was so short and small and so extreme that it seems weirder. It seems more like a like
it's
a
tough
grab.
too, because when you talk about music, like it's just there. I mean, everything, all kinds of media.
Yeah.
There's there are things that are so of that time.
Exactly.
Right.
That's what
that
it is.
it's really hard to like. Some things just don't age well, and you watch it
I know.
like a movie, and you're like, oh man, yeah, that's what we liked. That's what we liked.
I think so. I think so too. I think it's interesting. I agree completely, but I do think that they kind of deserve the same thought as like Poison for their contributions, and in terms
Sure.
of like being part of the pop culture. But yeah, when they tried to do that tour, they just couldn't do it. So it kind of bummed me out, made me feel bad. I didn't want to go see Limp Bizkit again though. I actually never saw Limp Bizkit. I don't think I've ever seen them.
All right. Bucket list item.
Man.
Wow.
Chuck Staton
Well, I
bucket
mean,
list.
Chuck, Brad, and Ray.
Wait, I'm sorry, what?
All you have to do is just imagine though, if his music career had continued,
Yes.
we never would have had Fred Durst direct a John Travolta movie last year.
Yes, I know. Did you see it?
That is horrible. No, I haven't seen it, but I've watched multiple review things about it. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty up there in terms of like, oh boy, like, oh no.
I'll have to watch it myself, but I hear you. Man, remember when Limp Bizkit made all the riots happen at Woodstock? Oh, that was crazy.
Is this what the podcast is?
It's Limp Bizkit and the Sopranos.
It's basically the Chris Farley show, but Limp Bizkit's not here.
Tune into the Chuck and Brad video podcast where not only does coronavirus not exist, the towers are still standing.
That's funny.
It's still September 10th here.
One of the things I want to talk about today is that I kind of owe our podcast listeners an apology. Want to hear a funny thing?
Oh,
This is a little technical, so I'm only going to talk about this for like 1 minute, and that's it. So we record on this Rodecaster Pro, great device sent to us by Rode. Thank you, Rode. We love it.
still waiting for mine.
But when you record on it, there's a cough button, and I'm like, oh, thank God, a cough button, because I have to clear my throat a lot. I have allergies. I use it. I used it the last couple weeks in the podcast because we've been doing call-ins. I used it on Pat Oates' podcast because I had to call in with him. And then I realized after the podcast came out, the cough button doesn't apply to the multi-track recording. So I listened back to a podcast from like 2 weeks ago, and I'm like, and I'm just clearing my throat. I'm like, why would I let this happen? And I listened all the way through it. All of my coughs are in it the whole time.
Wow.
Yeah. I know. I feel so bad. And
You're a real piece of shit.
I guess I am. It was an accident. Oh, boy. All right, let's see. Some stuff we want to talk about today. I thought this was cool. I don't know if you guys saw this. I got this news from the Laugh Button. There was a roast of Rich Voss, who is like one of the New York comics that kind of does like the New York clubs a lot, a couple of years ago. And
You said the same thing twice.
What? I
He's a
said
New
a couple
York
years ago.
comic that does the New York clubs a lot.
Well, anyway. So I didn't want to say Comedy Cellar a lot because I'm not sure how often he is.
No,
there.
I know Rich Voss. So it's
Yeah.
just weird to hear him described by someone.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah. I don't know how else to say it to the average listener. But they did a roast of his with Bonnie McFarlane, who is his wife, Colin Quinn, Jim Florentine, Big J. Okerson, Jim Norton, and they filmed it and did like a whole like multicam set of it a couple years ago.
Right.
And I guess they just released it on YouTube like yesterday.
Wow.
Just for people to watch for free. It's at the Comedy Cellar.
Yeah, it was. They had it. He was selling it for a while. You could download it for I think like a year or so. But I think because of everything going on, Rich was, and also because Rich is like, well, I just squeezed everything out I could on this thing, and now he's just like, let's put it up. But I do think that's a great thing.
Yeah. And I watched it today and it's super funny. Tons of, like I love roasts because I love, one-liners, and I love set up punchline stuff that's kind of simple. And it's great. Just go to YouTube and search Voss Roast, VOS Roast, and it'll come right up. And it's just very, very fun. And it made me laugh out loud multiple times. I thought that was cool. Also,
when you were watching it, were you like, man, what if I was Rich Voss?
I did. That is when I emailed. That is when I texted you my idea today about the roast thing. Oh yeah. I came up with this concept. I texted Ray. I told Brad before the podcast. I was like, man, if we did ambush roasts, that would be so funny. Like we invite people to Skype into the podcast, like our buddy, another comic from the area, Brian Bowden, And we said, hey, Skype into the podcast. We Skyped him and he's like, hey guys, what's up? And we're like, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the roast of Brian Bowden. And we just all had roast jokes. I think it's so funny, but here's why I think it doesn't work. One, because if we're wicked mean and he has no setup for it, that's not fair.
Right.
So we'd have to be soft. But if it's soft, it kind of defeats the purpose of a roast.
Yes.
But it is funny. I'd love to make it work someday.
It's
somehow.
just like sex. If it's soft, it defeats the purpose.
Right.
That's right.
Sorry, I tried on that one,
That's
and
okay.
that was a whiff. That was a whiff.
That's okay.
We
each get 3 per episode.
and what happens when you do your last one? Do I get to leave?
Yeah, then you get to leave. Let's see. Something else I want to talk about. This is pretty cool, and this is coming out Wednesday the 8th, so it'll be out by the time this podcast comes out. This is called Project 88 Back to the Future 2, and it's TOO. And what this is let's see. I'm going to read this. If you go to if you go to bttftoo.com, then you'll see a webpage with a video, and it says, with so many creative people stuck at home, we wanted to give people a creative outlet, something that anyone could do. We had people from around the world recreate scenes from Back to the Future 2 using only what they had access to during the quarantine.
Nice.
The results are a marvel of creativity. The best part, however, is hearing from the people who worked on the project how much fun they had and how it brought some joy in a dark time. And so this is from Taylor Morden, and he is the director of Pick It Up, the Scott documentary.
Right.
That's a movie that Brad and I hosted multiple, premieres of this past summer in Boston and New York. And he's a great dude. And I love the idea of this project.
I'm with you. I'm excited to watch it.
Yeah, I think this will really be fun. And like I said, we haven't seen it yet because it comes out after we record. So we will be watching it. And if you want to see it, bttftoo.com to see Project 88 Back to the Future 2. I think it's awesome. And it's kind of similar to actually an idea that I pitched to Ray. Remember Ray?
Which one was that?
Well, basically we were talking about the idea of like, what could we, I was saying to you really, I was like, man, what could we do during this time? And I said, the only thing I really have come up with is the idea of trying to recreate movie scenes, kind of like Be Kind Rewind.
Were you watching Be Kind Rewind at the time?
Well,
you're like, what if I was most deaf?
Well, I think I'm going to say this and I feel really guilty saying it. Be Kind Rewind. I love the concept and I think it wasn't a good movie.
I've never seen it.
I didn't think it was funny. And I didn't think it was, I don't want to say anything too bad about it, but I really didn't think they did a good job with it. And it's also a movie that came out. What do you think?
No, this is really uncomfortable. I wish I knew your opinion on this or that you would bring it up because Most Def is in my office right now.
Oh, boy.
He's running the camera?
And he heard you say that. That's, oh, boy. It's just going to be awkward now.
Sorry, Mr. Def.
Okay.
Okay, he's leaving. He's leaving.
All right.
No, I just thought it was okay. And they do a couple of like movie things like that in the movie. But that's it. That was probably more than 10 years ago. And they did something they continued and did more of them, right?
I don't want to say anything negative. But it is an idea of, recreating with, like Be Kind Rewind style scenes from a movie and then putting them all together has happened quite a few times. So there's quite a few projects that have done this.
Yeah, there's a Star Wars version. I know that. But that's the extent.
There's a Star Wars one. There's an Indiana Jones one. There's a I can't remember the one that just came out like a little while ago. And it was like a fan thing. Oh man, I don't remember which movie it was, but it's happened quite a few times.
Well, I'm excited for this. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Back to the Future 2 is a movie that I kind of know inside and out, so that's kind of going to be extra fun for me because it's like, what kind of little things are people going to sneak in?
I suggested to Chuck that we do a shot-for-shot remake of Norbit, and we fought over who was going to play which part. So
I thought I was just going to be the director, and you were just going to be everybody. That'd be great. I'd love that. Let's see. What else do we want to talk about this week? Well, I think this is cool. Disney/Pixar, they put out the movie Onward, which is one of their new releases. They put it out straight to Disney Plus because obviously all the movie theaters are closed. And so this past Saturday, they just put it up and I watched it. Man, I thought Onward was awesome. What'd you think?
I really enjoyed it. It stirred up my emotions. Something fierce.
Oh my God. Ray, you didn't watch it, I'm sure, right?
I got it for my son,
Yes.
Finn, and he watched it, and I watched chunks of it with him.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna sound like the negative guy throughout the whole thing.
Oh
but,
boy. Boy. What do you have to say?
No,
Say-
remember
go ahead.
you love early Sugar Ray, and you'll never turn your back on him.
Yeah, there you go. And Sugar Ray, this ain't.
No.
You didn't like it?
I thought it was fine.
Yeah.
I thought as far as a like Pixar movie, it doesn't feel like a It feels like a DreamWorks kind of movie.
Oh, interesting.
And I thought it was kind of like you have the gimmick, like the concept of like it's fantasy, but it's fantasy modern times,
Yeah.
and they do that, and that's fun. But overall, I thought the movie was just kind of. It felt really retread and didn't feel like a concept that really wanted to be done. It felt more like a movie by committee than most Pixar movies do.
See,
this felt like something that was trying to be a Pixar movie, and so for me, I was just kind of like, okay. And then the ending, that it's an emotional thing, but it kind of struck me as intentionally like we're gonna do the Pixar thing, and so for me it wasn't awesome. And I will say my son, who other Pixar movies is like all about him, he loves so many of the Pixar movies, watches them over and over and over, and I do think it's telling that my 6-year-old watched Onward and kind of got checked out of that movie pretty like frequently in it. And there were many times where I was like, are you still watching this? I can turn it off. And he's like, no, it's fine. Keep going. And it took him like 2 or 3 sittings, and he has not asked to watch it again since. And with the other Pixar movies he's watched, he's like, I want to watch it again. I want to watch it again. I want to watch it again. So that's the 6-year-old Finn Harrington review, I guess. But, to me, it was the first time I saw a Pixar movie that I went, ooh, I can see all the let's hit these points in the movie.
I really like the concept of like it's kind of like the old world of magical things, but they got away from magic and just turned into regular society. I like that concept a lot. And then, I don't want to spoil anything, but I did like the direction of the story, and I felt like it was a less obvious direction than I thought it was going to be, I guess, in terms of Tom Holland's realizations and character arc and stuff like that.
I will say it made me start thinking about kids animated movies now, especially Disney Pixar. Like at it, like that's the core part of it that made me start thinking about it. And after I saw the movie, I started thinking about, these are the movies that my son is growing up watching, and kids are growing up watching now. And I have noticed, like, he'll mention, there's a particular scene that seems fairly innocuous in a movie, but he's scared by it. It's kind of scares him. He's at that age where, it creeps him out a little bit.
Right.
So there are some movies, kids movies that I've shown him from my childhood or our childhood, whatever, that he really likes and can get into. Like Home Alone, he adores Home Alone 1 and 2.
Yep.
And that's all good. But it struck me today where I was just like, yeah, there are movies I can't show him until he gets a little older because I think they'll scare him.
Yeah.
And I think if I had a MAGA hat for this thing, it would be make kids movies kind of scary again.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I agree. Yeah. I like that.
They used to scare us a little bit.
Yes.
And the thing would be scary, but ultimately defeated and be shown to be powerless.
Yes.
And that's awesome. You know what I mean? Like everything from like Goonies even is kind of fucking scary. If you're a kid, you're like, oh shit, what is this?
Jurassic Park was scary for kids.
Jurassic Park is terrifying. Sure. Yeah. That scared the shit out of me when I saw it. But like little monsters, like you can go down the list of like, oh, kind of scary.
Yeah.
And I think the weird thing is, and especially with Disney Pixar, it's like, we're not going to scare you. But hey, kids, let's talk about grief. Right? It's a weird, that is a weird thing.
Yeah.
And it struck me like, Inside Out, which Finn loved. My son loved Inside Out. He has watched Inside Out a million times. And then you have this, and like all these Disney Pixar movies are dealing with like emotional things, and that's fine. I'm not saying, hey, let's not talk about that.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like I fast forwarded the scene in Up, the opening part of Up, when I showed it to my son, because he was like 5 at the time or 4. No, he was 4. And I'm like, we're going to get past the idea of a couple living until one dies and then the other has no reason to live. We're going to get past that part, and we'll get to the fun bird and the balloon house, okay? So it's insane where it's like I got to skip past that. I'm ready with the fast forward faster on that than I am on like Little Monsters or the T-Rex in Jurassic Park.
Right.
Because I think there is value in showing a young kid that a scary thing is not as scary as you think it is. And I do think there's value in the emotional stuff that they examine in these movies. But it is weird that it's like, no, don't show a monster, but also let's dive deep on some grief here. Let's talk about grief and isolation.
I know. Coco was rough,
they feel like movies that were they're like brought to you by the Children's Counseling Association. You know what I mean? Like, just play this and it'll be fine. Like, you have to watch it in health class to learn, to learn why. Like, oh, if a student died in the class, everybody has to watch this movie. You know? And they tick a box. Like the principal's like, oh shit. Oh man, one of the kids died. Oh great. In 5th grade. Oh boy, that's extra sad. All right. Well. Go get Up.
Yeah, right. No, I'm with you.
And we'll watch it. Go get Onward, and we'll play that one. So it is weird. I get it, but it's hard, and it's hard not to feel cynical about it and feel like the pulling on the heartstrings thing is so intentional. You know what I mean? Like, it feels like they wrapped their own string around your heartstrings so they can come back and pull it whenever they want.
Well, you know what it is? It's funny because, from the standpoint of people who write this kind of stuff, like all of us, we recognize that there's going to be that dark night of the soul moment, right? In every movie.
Yes.
And it's almost like they took the movies that maybe were a little bit more lighthearted with that. And they were like, well, what if we made this resonate more deeply? And that kind of makes it feel a little bit more important, I guess. It's probably, but I do hear what you're saying. That's funny.
I get it. It's just, it's tough because the cynical part of me sees that. And I think, who is this for really? Right.
Yeah,
there are kids that need to see that message. And I get that 100%, but majoritively, that's for the adults. That's for the parents of the kids that are seeing it, or childless adults that are watching it all together.
Right.
Like the two of you. And that wasn't a dig. That was just the truth.
Statement of fact.
So I think it's definitely motivated to that, but it does make me feel like, oh, there is something missing in kids' movies, which is, like I said, scare a kid a little bit and then show them that fear can be overcome.
Sure,
that's a great thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Because that's something that just doesn't exist at all in kids' movies now.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm still frightened.
And there
of
are
Large
other
Marge.
elements that we could play with. I mean, like, I can't show him E.T. because the whole beginning of E.T., I think, is just for a child who didn't grow up watching those kinds of movies.
It's traumatizing.
Who grew up. I think it's really fucking creepy.
Yeah.
If you think about E.T., it's like so dark,
dude,
and it's like the whole beginning is very like grounded and real, and it's just a real family doing their thing, and then out of nowhere, it's like horrible, creepy sounds coming from the shed, and then something following candy into your home. And then even when you see E.T., he's fucked up looking. You know what I mean? Like,
I hate E.T.
That's not cuddly. That's not cuddly.
Like when E.T. dies and he's just white and he's shitty and fucked up and everyone has the masks on and everything, that's terrifying.
Yeah, it's a horrifying movie, but we watched it and we're like, E.T., yay! You know what I mean? We like it.
Not me. I went to Universal Studios and I went on the ride E.T. and I went back to my grandparents' condo and I locked myself in the bathroom and I threw up for hours. I'm not even joking. It was all E.T. I'm not kidding. It was 100% E.T. And I remember remembering telling my grandparents.
You threw up for hours?
I swear to God. And I told my grandparents, I swear to God, I said,
are you sure you didn't just have a sexual awakening?
I'm telling you, I told my grandparents on the ride he had sharp teeth. It's not true, but I know I thought he did. I just imagined.
Yeah, just rows and rows of shark's teeth inside E.T.'s mouth.
And I was like, and I was trying to like basically justify how disturbed I was by saying the ride was so much scarier and it was different.
Yeah.
Oh,
well, I do think it's funny. Like E.T., the only box that it ticks for like formulaic cuteness is just big eyes. And it's like Spielberg went, big eyes are cute, so let's just do it all where it's just big eyes and the rest is foreskin. Let's do that.
He's like, they're like, we don't have any money in the budget. He's like, well, make the big eyes and just use leftover gremlin parts and build whatever you want.
Yeah. It's pretty terrifying. It is.
Yeah.
And I do like the idea of like E.T. is so horrific looking that the only way they can show him looking fucked up is to just turn him whiter. That's it. It's like he's dying and it's like, oh, we can't make him look any less healthy other than just making him pale.
When I'm frightened of E.T. When he's dead in that movie, it is fucked up. Like I swear to God, it is fucked. And it's weird because I don't really have sympathy. I think of him as like the villain of the movie. Not the villain, but like something. If I was the main kid,
Elliot,
my whole plan in my life would maybe to get him back to his planet, just to get him the fuck out of my life. Anything to be away from E.T. And so when he dies, it's scary, even though I kind of want him out of there by any means possible. I don't know why.
I like the idea of you watching that movie in the movie theater for the first time, and then when he dies, you stand up and go, "Yay, they did it, guys!" And you start clapping.
I'm terrified of E.T. When I was a kid, that story is not embellished. I locked myself in the bathroom. I wouldn't let anybody in. I was just throwing up. In my dreams too. You know what's weird? He had in my dreams he had the sharp teeth. And he had eyes like a snake. You know what I mean? Like they have those weird.
Yeah.
I know that's not how E.T. is, though. I know it's not.
Wow, we're really getting somewhere in this. I think I need to charge you for this hour because we're getting somewhere. But this is my point. You saw something that scared you, and it turned out that it was like it's part of like it's just a thing. You know what I mean? It's okay to be scared by that, and you will overcome it. I mean, your reaction is maybe a little more extreme, but. I think that's a thing, and it is a shame. And I think if like the Disney Pixar movies that are being made right now came out when we were growing up, we would have looked at those and gone, "Oh, these are for toddlers."
I mean, I know what you mean in terms of how scary they get.
Soft.
They're soft.
Very soft.
Yeah.
And the emotions that are there are, again, I don't think they're necessarily for children watching it.
Yeah.
They're more for adults watching it.
Yeah.
And that's an odd juxtaposition to go for.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's my own feeling about it. It is. I like overall the Disney Pixar movies. I think they are very well done.
Yeah.
This one to me, like I said, it didn't feel like a Disney Pixar movie. It felt like DreamWorks trying to pull off a Disney Pixar movie.
I could see what you're saying in terms of the world building, but I was really impressed with the way the story went.
As somebody who has a complicated relationship with an older brother whose level of outward performance does not match my own, the movie struck some emotional chords with me.
Yeah. You know, it's funny.
That's fair.
I watched it with my girlfriend Gina and my roommate Jordan, and the whole time we were talking, we're like, man, this Chris Pratt character feels just like Jack Black. It's like what the character is, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And we were getting so into it that right when we finished the movie, we put on Tenacious D and The Pick of Destiny, which I haven't watched since it came out. I don't think. Go ahead, Brad.
Do you still like? I watched it once.
Really?
Yeah.
I like it a lot. I think it's really fun. I mean, it's really weird. It falls outside of norms for comedies.
Yes.
But I really like a lot of parts of it. I love Ben Stiller and Guitar Center.
Amy Poehler was a waitress, I think.
Amy Poehler's in it. I think there's a lot of fun stuff in it. It's weird because Kyle Gass isn't really a comedic performer in my eyes. You know what I mean? Like he works well in Tenacious D and he's an amazing guitarist. And I think he even, whatever he does on stage with the stage show of Tenacious D, which I've seen a couple times, I think is perfect.
Right.
Well, he's also an actor though.
He is, right? He was in Saving Silverman. He was in a couple things.
He's an actor, yeah.
Yeah. I really like
I think you owe Kyle Gass an apology right here and right now.
Yeah. Wait, is he in the room with you and Mos Def?
It's Kyle Gass and Mos Def.
Yes.
What do you think?
How do you think they know each other? Because Jack Black was in Be Kind Rewind.
That makes sense.
6 degrees of Jack Black.
Yeah, right. What do you think about Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny, Ray?
I really enjoyed it when it came out because I was like a huge fan of Tenacious D. I love Tenacious D.
Me too.
And like I remember, but that's like high school time for me, like the tail end of high school. And I mean, I would drive around with my friends in the car, whoever's car we were in. We would just listen to that album over and over and over, and we would know all the words to it.
Yeah, it's so good.
And so the movie was just give me more of Tenacious D.
Yeah,
and
it's almost like a retread of the album. That's almost what it is.
Well, I loved the like little mini series thing they did on HBO.
Yeah,
that was like short. It was Adult Swim before Adult Swim existed.
Right. That's right. It was on Mr. Show.
And those were super fun too.
Yeah.
And so I viewed it as like you're just giving me more Tenacious D. It felt like kind of a throwback to almost like an SNL character movie.
Yes, it did.
Where
totally.
They make this movie, and you got to have a through line for it. You got to do what you're going to do.
Right.
I don't think they betrayed who they are, though. I thought it was pretty fun.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it since probably it came out, though.
Right.
I thought it was very fun. It was really fun to go back and watch it. There's a lot of great moments. I mean, it's hard not to appreciate Jack Black as a comedic performer. He's awesome. He's so unique. And then what was fun is, so we watched it and we had our laughs, whatever. And then, I don't know if you've ever watched this, but Tenacious D released like 2 DVDs. One of them was called The Complete Masterworks, and it was the HBO segments. It was some live stuff, a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
The Complete Masterworks 2 included an 1.5-hour documentary that takes place starting before the movie. Then the movie comes out and it bombs. And they filmed Tenacious D all through. Have you seen this?
No, I haven't seen it.
Dude, it's heart-wrenching and incredible because it's them going through the bomb, and you really realize that Jack Black is like legitimately Jack Black because he's sad in it, and they deal with that.
Yeah.
Then they go on David Letterman.
I only watched their like tour documentary. That was it.
Oh, dude, they go on David Letterman, and they both walk in, and they're sitting down, and Jack Black is reading the script. And it shows him, and he's being really like weird and kind of quiet. And it shows a close up of the script, and Kyle Gass is not on the show, and he doesn't know yet. And they tell Kyle Gass he's not on the show, and he has like a huge blow up. And Jack Black's like, I don't know what to do. And they finally come to the conclusion that they're going to walk off the show.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
And then he calls the person that's the booker. I mean, they're backstage like during the show as it's taping, and he says we're going to walk off the show if Kyle's not invited to the couch. And so they did, but man, it's so good. I mean, it's really sad, and it goes into this direction of like, does Kyle actually like the band? Does he kind of resent Jack Black? That's kind of the direction of the documentary, but it's very real. It's great.
Huh.
Yeah,
I'll have to take a look.
Yeah, if I can find it anywhere online, I'll send it to you. It's really good.
Cool. Thank you.
It was really, really fun. But yeah, so
and then we played Brutal Legend, where Jack Black plays a roadie fighting.
Well, one of my favorite comedies in high school was Saving Silverman. I love Saving Silverman, not only for Jack Black but Steve Zahn.
He's great in it.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was kind of a cool new movie thing that I enjoyed. And we did want to talk about, Ray came up with the idea of like talking about kind of our comfort food TV and movies.
Yeah, a lot of people are under a lot of stress right now and are turning to things, that they find comfortable, whether it's a beloved old series or a movie they've seen multiple times before. And we were kind of going to discuss
just kind of what our comfort food viewings are.
Yes.
What do you think, Brad? What do you got?
It's tough because since we started the podcast, I've felt an overwhelming pressure to
Move forward.
And view new things in new ways. And so I haven't, even over the past, month or so, I haven't gone back and really rewatched things. I've thought about rereading books, but instead I'm like, no, I have to read something new because I'm going to read something old later this year.
Sure.
Those books are much longer, but I don't want anything challenging. I don't want to read Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning right now. Let me read the Philip Pullman's His Dark Materials trilogy aimed at younger adults. Let me do that.
Okay.
Instead of, but I'm not rewatching a TV show or a movie, but I think. For a while in the early 2000s, when Limp Bizkit was popular, we were, illegally accessing satellite stuff. We had the cheater cards for our satellite dishes and whatnot, my brother and I. And I watched Josie and the Pussycats 1 million times. And
That's a weird one.
I know. I watched The Princess Diaries. I think it was on like a heavy rotation on Showtime, the Anne Hathaway film. Both of them just over and over and over again because... They aren't challenging films in terms of like thematically challenging.
Yeah.
And they're really accessible and just, they're just there. Just something you can have on. You don't need to be super invested in it.
Yeah.
And so I think if I were going to turn to something, it may be something like that.
Yeah.
But the idea of like going back to watch an old show doesn't really appeal to me because there are so many new shows that I still have to get through.
Wow, that's interesting. Ray, how do you feel?
I mean, like you mentioned earlier in this episode that I watched Friends for the first time this past year, right? Because I was sick. And the reason I thought of this topic is I do have these kind of things I gravitate towards if I'm getting sick or something like that. You know what I mean? Like something where I'm just like, I'm kind of down and I just want to watch this thing.
Yeah.
Especially if I get sick.
Yeah.
And for me, for a long time, like Roseanne was that show for me.
Yeah.
And I would rewatch Roseanne.
Yeah.
Because it ticked a couple of boxes for me. The show was really good. And very well written, and I really liked it. I respected it as a sitcom and what it was. I still think that those early seasons are some of the best sitcom television in history ever. And so I would rewatch it for that. I would get to enjoy it, and then it felt there was comfort there because I remember watching it when I was a kid. My mom liked watching Roseanne, and I would watch it, and it was. So there's a it's like that safety kind of feeling, connecting to that nostalgia, and it doesn't hurt that it feels nostalgic in general because of when it was made.
Exactly.
So that always felt comfortable to me. I found myself going back to a show, Kenny versus Spenny.
Oh,
yeah.
Canadian Spenny. Yeah.
Yeah, a Canadian TV show.
Yeah.
And I would find myself like drifting back to it every once in a while.
Yeah.
Especially if I had like a cold or something like that, I would just find myself in that place of like insomnia, because you have a cold and it's like hard to fall asleep because your nose is like all messed up, and I would find myself drifting over to that because I could just enjoy it and tune it out when I wanted to. This summer, I went through a nice little tiny bit of depression. Which was delightful. During that time, I turned to The Office and rewatched The Office. And I don't even think I need to say that because I think
Everybody
The Office is like a prescribed thing now. I think you have to watch The Office if you have melancholy or if you're depressed or something. You have to watch The Office because it is incredibly comforting. It is so comforting.
Yes, it is.
For so many different reasons. It's genuinely very, very good. It's very funny. Steve Carell is amazing and the cast is great. It feels small. The stakes are low. It's quiet. there's not, nothing huge is happening. You're not going to get gunshots and explosions. So if you fall asleep watching The Office, you're fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's all very comforting.
I think aesthetic has a lot to do with it. It's funny because shows like Friends and Roseanne, they created an aesthetic probably more accidentally. I don't even want to say more accidentally, but it really feels like a specific time period, even though they were just shooting what was happening at the time and the set that made sense. But The Office is even more confined to a specific aesthetic all the time.
Right.
It's just this very
absolutely.
You know what I mean? So
just
you kind
life.
of feel like you're entering a world.
It's a mockumentary, so it's just life that's happening.
Right.
And but it's still really fun and funny, and the jokes are really good. And the core thing, the heart that's in the show, is what allows you to have that comfort food kind of feeling. It's like The Office is like macaroni and cheese, or like your mom's cooking or something like that.
Yeah.
Where you connect with it and you're just soothed by that.
Yeah.
I've always had that idea since making Be a Man, the documentary that I did, because when we were making the documentary, even before we started shooting, I started talking with my director of photography, because I had to be the subject of the documentary and the director.
Right.
And I remember having a conversation with him, Joe Giordano, and I said to him, as far as tone, we were talking about tone. I was like, I want this to be rewatchable. I want this to be comfort food.
Yeah.
And I if we do this right, people will feel like they're one of the friends along on this journey.
Right.
And I think we got there with it. But more importantly, I wanted people to be able to, and I brought that up of like, when you're sick, if you're home from work and you're sick and you have the flu or something like that, and you just want something on, that this is something you can put on and feel a little bit of that sense to it.
Absolutely.
And I think we pulled it off. And the cool thing was, like, I wasn't sure if we got there, but lo and behold, over the course of the past couple of years, I've had people reach out and they're like, oh, I'm rewatching Be a Man. I watch it every once in a while. I really enjoy just kind of being in that. And I'm like, oh shit. And for a documentary, that is crazy.
Yeah. That's
so
really fun.
I'm really happy with that. Yeah. I feel good about that.
Yeah, definitely. That's great. Yeah. For me, I was thinking about it too. And for me, a big one is seasons like 3 through 10 of The Simpsons is a huge one.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah. Simpsons for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Simpsons has something that feels very comforting. Friends is a big one. The Kevin Smith movies really make me feel comfortable. Chasing Amy specifically.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. I had that. Yeah. When I was, I agree.
Yeah. For some reason, Scream and Scream 2 also for some reason feel very comforting. I don't know why.
On account of all the murdering you do.
It's just like, it must be, it's funny too, because like, let's say there's something like Friends where it just adds up and it makes sense. But then if you have something organic that you just watched a million times when you were younger, it just might be ingrained in you as something that's comforting.
You know what movie I watched
I think that's for sure
the most in my life?
What's that?
Rocky 4.
What? Why?
It hit me at the right age, and I've watched it as an adult. And Ray, I don't know if you're familiar with Rocky 4.
They all blend together for me.
This is the one where he goes to Russia to fight Ivan Drago.
Yeah. Okay,
right.
so
Now-
like the one that is the most famous of the bunch.
Yes. So he as a filmmaker, as I've gotten older and learned more about scripts and script writing, it is essentially 7 music videos strung together. Where and if people out there are like, oh, like there's no way that can be true, watch the film and it's like, oh, okay, it's Living in America, and that's Apollo Creed's entrance, and then spoiler alert, Apollo Creed is killed in the ring. Then it's No Easy Way Out as Stallone drives through the city of Philadelphia and thinks back on moments from the other movies, and then and it's just music videos, like this uniquely late 80s sense of what's going on. And it is not a great film.
I'd love to watch it.
But it hit me, I was 9 or 10 years old and I would like watch it to get psyched up before a basketball game. And so, that's the movie I've seen the most, but it is not at all comforting as an adult to think about, 10-year-old Brad. Sorry.
No, it makes sense. I think there is an element of all of this idea of like comfort movies and TV and stuff.
Yeah.
It's a lot of it is just going to be like what hit you at the right age.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, that whatever window of time you were, those are going to be those movies that you kind of gravitate towards over and over and over, because it's a sense of just revisiting the thing you already know. You're comfortable with it. You're going back to it. There's a little bit of nostalgia, and it's just it's a warm blanket, and you enjoy that. You know, for me, the thing that I think I've seen the most is there was a Lifetime like made for TV movie about the murder of Jean-Benet Ramsey.
Oh,
and I wanted to get the hat trick on the Jean-Benet references. And we were too deep, and I was like, there has to be a third. And we got there, and I feel good about that.
My hats
I feel
are across the room,
right at the end of the podcast. Like, let's get that JBL reference in there. You know?
I love that. That's great. That's funny. Yeah, you're right about the thing about like there's a combination of stuff that is gonna feel like that. That's gonna feel nostalgic because it's kind of designed that way to feel warm, like The Office. Yeah. And then there is just whatever you experienced.
Right.
Which is a funny thing.
Do you want to know who really killed JBL?
Yeah, I would.
Wait, is it JBL or JBR?
Do you want to know who killed... no, JBL. JBR. Jesus Christ.
JBL was a wrestler.
I forgot. Oh my God, I messed it up. Jean-Benet Ramsey. Do you want to know?
Yes.
Carol Baskins.
Wow.
Oh, that's a good one. That's
nice.
a good
Contemporary.
That was bad. That was a meme. I'm now a meme, and I hate it.
He's the Ray Harrington, the living meme. That's cool. You can put that on flyers from now on.
Yes. We'll put it on flyers for you, Ray.
Don't. Please don't.
And you know what? I think right now we're going to take a call from our very good buddy, Jim Nellis, founder of RI Food Fights. You know, we live in Rhode Island, and we are, just like everybody, we're trying to support all the people that are going through tough stuff right now. So Jim Nellis has a little bit of a phone call where he wants to drop some knowledge on the listeners of the Chuck and Brad podcast. So let's go to Jim.
Hey guys, thanks for letting me call in. RI Feeding Heroes is a GoFundMe that Chris from Providence Bagel, Robin from RI Veg Fest, and I have started to raise money to buy restaurant gift cards to give to the frontline staff at 5 hospitals in Providence. We blew through our first goal of $5,000 yesterday, and we increased our next goal to $10,000. We just crossed $7,500, and I want to thank everybody who's participated, who's donated so far. We're buying gift cards dollar for dollar from 10 plus restaurants that we've put together, and we're donating, like we said, to 5 of the local hospitals. You can, if you'd like to help, and we really appreciate it, you can go to riheroes.org, riheroes.org, and any amount helps. It really does. We really appreciate your support. Thanks for doing this, and guys, we'll talk to you soon.
All right, thank you, Jim Nellis. Jim is going to be, he's a great guy. He's going to be calling in every week with some cool tips for the people of Rhode Island.
And not a lot of people know this. Jim Nellis, he actually donated a lot of money to the Tiger King's presidential race campaign, right?
It's weird, too. You know what else he donated to? Stopping the hunt for Jean-Benet Ramsey's killer.
Isn't that weird?
It's so strange.
Isn't that really weird?
Yes.
Didn't he originally get the idea for RI Food Fights with Oklahoma Tiger Fights?
Yes, he did. Oh, that's hilarious. Yes, we're coming to the close of the podcast. Man, I had a lot of fun doing this video cast. I think it's been really good.
This has been great.
Yeah, it's worked out really well.
I'm happy that you're happy.
Oh, boy.
That's all we need.
So I wanted to talk about real quick. I thought this was fun. We're all locked down, and I'm with my roommate Jordan and my girlfriend Gina, and we're getting to the point where, like, I don't know if this is happening in your house, Ray, where you're just around each other too much of the time.
I mean, that isn't that everybody's life right now. I'm not saying that.
like
I'm just not saying that.
All I'm saying is
in fact, you know what, Chuck? I wholeheartedly disagree with you.
I feel like
the idea that you're feeling that way seems like a personal problem.
It's weird. I can hear
and
Ray winking.
We're going back to sociopathy again.
I
love my wife and I love my child, and there's nothing more. You know what? Right now, I miss them because I've been in this room talking to you guys for a little over an hour. I'm going to go check on them in a second. I want to go talk to them. I'm going to shake my wife awake and then say, What were you thinking about?
Man, Gina walked into her room today and she smiled at me and I went, ugh. No, listen to this shit. So, we're at home, we're together.
Listen to this shit.
We're at home together all the time. We went to the grocery store the other day and
Why did you go? Why did you guys not, just send one person, man? Just send one person.
Well, anyway, we went together.
You're part of the problem.
I grabbed a cart, right? And I got a cart and she goes, why don't you get your own cart and pay for your own food? As opposed to us like splitting food. I'm like, okay, I guess so.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, right. And then I bought my favorite. This is really strange. I mean, we can't get into this mystery today, but I went
the mystery of what you bought at the grocery store.
Listen, last summer,
what an egomaniac.
No, it's not that. It's not that. Listen
do you feel like no, shut up. When you go down the aisle, do you think people are like, what's in his cart?
No, listen.
I know what you bought. It was oat milk.
No, it's not that.
Yeah, that's right. It was fucking oat milk.
This does have to do with
this guy's lousy with oat milk. He's an oat milk perv.
Listen.
And he calls it oat juice, and it's disgusting. It's the sweat of the oat.
I call it Quaker juice.
You got that
the
Quaker
sweet
juice?
semen of William Penn.
No.
Oh, Billy's sweet oaty jizz.
Give me Billy Penn seed. That's what I say when I go to Shaw's. I went to Ben and Jerry's factory last summer, right? I went out back to the...
How did we get here? How did we get to this?
I went out back...
What the fuck is going on? You're telling me, okay, you're in the grocery store with Gina, and now you're at Ben and Jerry's. A summer ago, what is happening?
Listen to me. I went to Ben and Jerry's factory, right?
Yes.
I went out back to the flavor graveyard.
Yes.
Right?
Keep going.
You listening, Ray?
I'm here, man.
I went to the flavor graveyard and I saw a tombstone that brought tears to my eyes because it was my favorite flavor. Okay. You listening?
Yes.
I'm listening.
And that flavor is called Oat of This World. Right. And it's like an oatmeal cookie flavor. So I went to this grocery store last week. Me and Gina went
That
in.
was the end of that story?
That's part of the story. Just listen to the story. We go in. I go to the freezer section.
This has no like. This is a non-linear anecdote that you're telling.
I'm Quentin Tarantino this story.
It's like you're giving impressions of a thing.
Quentin
Like,
Tostino's this story.
There you go.
Listen to me. I went to the freezer section, fucking back from the dead. Oat of This World, right?
Ooh.
The flavor, my favorite flavor was back in the freezer section. Okay. So
All right.
I picked it up, right? Gina says, pay for your own groceries. Like, you're an idiot. You don't know how to buy groceries, whatever. We go home, and we're watching Sopranos. And she goes in the fridge. First of all, what do you think she grabs from the freezer?
100%. It's got to be Oat of This World.
She grabs my ice cream from the flavor.
I'm gonna say it's the one frozen item that you said.
Yes.
Yes. So right. Listen,
You didn't even pepper in some red herrings there, man. You didn't even say like I got some bagel bites.
So listen, we're watching Sopranos.
Got a Fudgy the Whale.
We're watching Sopranos. She pauses Sopranos. I wait for her. She goes to the freezer. She gets the ice cream that she made me pay for it myself. I don't say anything. That's fine. She's eating my ice cream. I get it. Okay. She comes back to the thing. I pause the Sopranos. She's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I have to pee. And she goes, ugh. So first of all, she paused it. I didn't say anything. Now she's eating my ice cream. Now she's pissed that I have to pee. And this is my proof that this quarantine is destroying our relationship. I go to pee. I start peeing, and 10 seconds in, I hear her from the living room, you need to go to the doctor, because she can hear me peeing. And it's like too much at once, I guess. Come back, and, that was it. It was pretty much it. But I didn't like you need to go to the doctor. I thought that was a little bit weird. And I think it's proof
I'm listening to your story, and it's madness to me that look, I understand in relative terms this is taking a toll on every single person.
Yeah.
But as a parent of a 6-year-old child, I hear that story and I'm like, but where's the But like, where's the shitty part?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? It's you're doing great. You're doing fine. Everything's okay. And maybe follow up on that advice from Gina. What if you find out your prostate is enlarged?
Just because I'm peeing so hard? Isn't that like, I thought that'd be at least like a little sexy, or I don't know.
How on earth?
Peeing hard is sexy?
Just like, what do you think I'm, what am I peeing with?
Well, now I'm concerned that nobody is checking on my urological health because nobody's around to hear me pee.
Think about that super soaker.
Yeah.
Tiny squirt,
That's true.
big squirt.
No, but see, now you got to think of a very small hole and then a lot of fluid behind it. It's going to come shooting out very hard. That's physics, okay?
It's like putting your
So
thumb
what
on
you're
the end of a
saying
hose.
is so in your mind, a hard pee is a somehow sexually
Virile.
It's like a positive. It's a net positive sexually wise.
I think so.
I can't even talk anymore. I don't even know what we're talking about.
I think so.
You know
I
what?
think it is.
Now I'm a victim of your hard peeing because I'm talking about it. I am spending time in my life during the age of Corona talking about your hard pee.
And I appreciate it, Ray.
Now I'm going to go cry in the bathroom and puke and vomit.
Well, we had a lot of fun tonight. This is a great episode. This is a great.
Where do you think E.T. peed out of?
His big eyes.
I think, yeah. He has nothing down there. I know he does.
It's got to be.
He's got nothing. It's a fucking rubber ball down there.
It's the fact that you said, I know he doesn't. like vindictive and just backstabby almost. He's got nothing bound down there. I know he doesn't.
I've listened to ETP.
Yeah, see, that's the last person on earth I would want to fuck is ET. And you know that he has no pee. He has no. It's like a weird.
He's not a person and he's not on Earth.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
He was on for quite a little bit. Ate some Reese's Pieces and said goodbye. All right, buddy. Well, Ray, I appreciate you being on the show today. Thank you for being on.
And thank you for having this be the transition to saying goodbye to me. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, what do you think, Ray?
The image of you aggressively just going to town on ET and like
No way.
somehow getting weird fears out of your fucking emotional system. You know what I mean?
I would love to get revenge on ET, but not in that way. I just no.
It's called immersion therapy. If you're afraid of snakes, you immerse yourself with you touch a snake, you let the snake climb on you. You're afraid of ET. You gotta blow ET. I think that's the only thing you gotta do.
You don't.
There's no blowing.
No,
he has
you
nothing
don't.
to blow. I didn't want to get into this.
you could suck on his finger. That long glowy thing.
Hey, my wisdom teeth came back. Oh, that's pretty good.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right. Well, folks out there, thank you all so much for listening and or watching.
Yeah.
We appreciate you. If you have questions, comments, concerns, or otherwise, send us an email, chuckandbrad@gmail.com. Check us out on social media @DiscountChuck and @BradRohr. That's BradRohrer. You can check out Ray Harrington's social media.
Where are you, Ray?
I'm in my house. No, I'm on Twitter @Ray Harrington, Instagram, I think it's Ray Harrington Comedy. And to get all of those places, you can go to rayharringtoncomedy.com.
Nice.
And that has, the documentary we talked about, links to that there, a couple of stand-up albums and other general things.
Maybe a link to your Conan set, I'm hoping.
Yeah, it's on the website.
Great.
Nice. And thanks to Jim Nellis for calling in. Check out riheroes.org
Yes.
and support them as well.
Yeah.
You feeling good?
I'm feeling great, buddy.
All right, Ray, thank you so much for joining us. We do appreciate it.
And thank you for having me. I do appreciate your appreciation.
Nice. All right, that's all I've got.
That's all I got.
Deuces.
When